Emma never imagined the most heartbreaking words she would ever hear would come from her own son. After losing her husband of 40 years, the silence in her small apartment became unbearable. She missed family dinners, children laughing, and simply feeling like she belonged somewhere. Gathering every bit of courage she had, she called her successful son and asked if she could stay with his family for just 1 week. His answer shattered her. He told her they were not running a charity and suggested she spend time at the local senior center instead. What he did not know was that only a few hours earlier, Emma had quietly rewritten her entire estate plan, making sure every dollar she owned was beyond his reach. Emma and her late husband, William, had spent their entire lives working hard and living below their means. William was an electrical engineer, and Emma taught elementary school for more than 20 years. They skipped expensive vacations, drove reliable cars, and saved every extra dollar because they wanted to give their children opportunities they never had. Their son, Ryan, always dreamed of wealth and success, while their daughter, Claire, cared more about family than money. They proudly paid for both children to attend college, believing education was the greatest investment they could ever make. Years later, Ryan came to his parents with a dream of starting his own marketing company. He needed $60,000 to make it happen. Although it meant using a large portion of their retirement savings, Emma and William never hesitated. They gave him the money as a gift, telling him it was simply an early inheritance. Ryan built a highly successful business, became wealthy, bought a luxurious home, and enjoyed every comfort imaginable. Yet as his success grew, his relationship with his parents slowly disappeared. Invitations became excuses, visits stopped completely, and phone calls became rare. Claire chose a much simpler life. She became a nurse, married a dedicated teacher, and raised one daughter in a modest home. Even though she never had much money, she always found time for her parents. She called every week, visited often, and genuinely cared about how her mother was feeling. She never asked for financial help because having her parents in her life meant more than anything money could buy. Everything changed when William was diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer. Within 8 painful months, Emma lost the love of her life. Medical bills forced her to sell the family home, but William had wisely purchased a large life insurance policy years earlier. After paying every expense, Emma still had nearly $500,000. Financially, she was secure, but emotionally, she had never felt poorer. Every morning, she poured 2 cups of coffee before remembering she was alone. Every night, she stared at an empty chair where William used to sit. Only 3 days after the funeral, Ryan called. Emma expected comfort, but instead he immediately asked about the insurance money and mentioned an investment opportunity he hoped she would help fund. The conversation left her heartbroken. Over the next 2 years, Ryan rarely contacted her except during holidays, while Claire continued visiting regularly with her daughter, filling Emma's lonely apartment with laughter. Wanting to help both children while she was still alive, Emma gave each of them $100,000. Claire cried with gratitude and saved most of it for her daughter's future. Ryan happily announced he would spend his share remodeling his luxury kitchen with expensive marble countertops and designer appliances. That difference in priorities stayed in Emma's mind. As loneliness became harder to bear, Emma decided she simply wanted to spend 1 week surrounded by family. Before making the call, she visited her longtime attorney. There, she transferred all of her savings into a trust controlled only by her and updated her will so Claire would receive 65% of her estate, while Ryan would inherit 35%. She was not acting out of anger. She simply wanted her life's work to go to the child who had always made room for her. Later that day, Emma called Ryan and asked if she could stay with his family for just 1 week. After whispering with his wife, he politely made excuses before finally admitting that having her there would interrupt their routine. Then he delivered the sentence that changed everything. He told his own mother they were not running a charity and suggested she find activities at the senior center. Instead of crying, Emma calmly told him that earlier that morning she had protected every dollar she owned. She reminded him she had paid for his education, financed his business, and supported him throughout his life. Yet when she needed only 1 week of love and companionship, he treated her like an inconvenience. She ended the call without another word. Her next call was to Claire. Before Emma could even finish asking, Claire warmly invited her to stay as long as she wanted. When Emma arrived, her granddaughter greeted her with a handmade welcome sign, and the small guest room felt warmer than any mansion ever could. During that week, they shared meals, watched movies, laughed together, and created the family life Emma had been missing. By the end of her visit, Claire and her husband asked her to move in permanently. Ryan suddenly began calling nonstop, apologizing and insisting she was always welcome. But Emma knew his concern had appeared only after learning about the inheritance. When she finally answered one call, his first question was how much he would still receive. At that moment, she realized she had made the right decision. Today, Emma lives happily with Claire and her family. Her room is filled with photographs of William. Her mornings begin with coffee shared around the kitchen table, and her evenings end with laughter instead of silence. She finally understood that true wealth was never the money she had saved. Real wealth was being loved, respected, and welcomed by the people who truly cared. In the end, she did not choose money over her son. She simply chose peace, dignity, and the family that had never stopped making room for her.